One of the most popular tropical drinks of all time is the Singapore Sling, and yes, that is a tropical drink and not a tiki drink, as it was created well before tiki and its roots were in Singapore. The drink was said to have been created in 1915 at the Raffles Hotel in Singapore. At that time, Singapore was under British control, and apparently the ladies of the time were not supposed to drink publicly. Bartender Ni Om Tong Boon took it upon himself to right this wrong by creating a cocktail that would not look like a cocktail, but a sweet and fruity concoction no one would mistake for a drink with booze. Now that's a story that we all know, and the one that's still told today at the Raffles Hotel. But David Wondrich found references to similar gin slings before 1915 and references to them being made elsewhere in Singapore, not the long bar at the Raffles Hotel. This is all covered in the Oxford Companion to Spirits and Cocktails. The Singapore Sling from the Raffles Hotel gets its uniqueness from tropical juices, Benedictine, and cherry brandy. There are earlier recipes from other bars in Singapore, including the Cricket Club, where they would actually refuse to serve sling. So instead, members would order cherry brandy, Benedictine, lime juice, and gin. And that was recorded back in 1913, a couple years before the long bar invented the Singapore Sling. And this is where the confluence of history and the internet get entangled. Virtually everyone, including myself, just goes with the Raffles Hotel version of the story, and those stories get retold over and over and over on the internet, making them the official narrative. But there is provable evidence to the contrary, and this happens a lot when you read books or articles by David Wondrich, because few out there are doing primary research on cocktails as he does. And that makes the Oxford Companion to Spirits and Cocktails indispensable for someone like me, because the internet will trick you over and over and over again. So the Singapore Sling, as it is loosely known today, existed in some form before it was made at the Raffles Hotel, but it was definitely the long bar at the Raffles Hotel that made the drink popular and what everyone knows a Singapore Sling as today. But even the long bar admits to not totally knowing the original recipe from 1915 and revised the drink in the 1970s. And that's the standard recipe most of us know. But if you go to the long bar today, they have a slightly revised version that they will serve to you with long bar scrappy bitters, Luxardo cherry instead of cherry hearing, and Pierre Ferrand instead of Cointreau. But today I'm going to make the recipe for the Singapore Sling that has been the most used over the last many decades and the version of the drink that became the most popular. For this one, you'll need Angostura bitters, lime juice, pineapple juice, grenadine, Cointreau, Benedictine, cherry hearing, and gin. We're going to build this in a small shaker with 1 dash of Angostura bitters, a 1/4 ounce of lime juice, 4 full ounces of pineapple juice, 1/3 an ounce of grenadine, 1/4 ounce of Cointreau, 1/4 ounce of Benedictine. I see people on the internet complaining all the time about cherry hearing and how you never really need it. And it's just kind of funny because this bottle, it's about 90% full. I've had this bottle for 10 years, so yeah, you don't ever really need it unless you're making Singapore Slings. 1/2 ounce of cherry hearing, and just 1 ounce of gin. So this episode and the Singapore Sling in general was something that wasn't really on my radar. It wasn't a video that I had planned on doing right now, maybe someday in the future, But Will from Patreon, he's a member of the Mai Tai tier. And if you're in that tier of the Make and Drink Patreon, you can request a video. And sometimes it might be a quick video because it's a modern cocktail, and sometimes it's a longer deep dive. Now, Will did request or state that his favorite spec for this is Smuggler's Cove. And I didn't do that because as I was learning more about the true histories of the Singapore Sling, I wanted to make the one that is the most popular. But I will be back in the near future with a couple variations, including the Smuggler's Cove. So let's try the Raffles Hotel Long Bar Singapore Sling. I don't know for certain if I've had a Singapore Sling. I've definitely never made this version, and I would assume I probably haven't made any versions. I was looking forward to the whole, video, but not necessarily the drinking of it, because it just seems like it doesn't work. And that's partly correct. It's surprisingly not like cloyingly sweet, even though you would think it is. 4 ounces of pineapple juice and syrups involved. Now, if the Long Bar's intention was to make something that just tasted like fruit juices, they did that. But surprisingly, you do get some of the Benedictine coming in and the cherry hearing, even though we use such small amounts. I taste no gin. I don't really taste the grenadine. I don't really even understand the Cointreau. I did use a homemade grenadine, which is why it's not quite as pink as you might find it at most bars if they're using roses. It's fine. I wouldn't order this if I was out somewhere, but I wouldn't not drink it. I don't know if that says anything. One of the biggest complaints I get since I've started this whole process is people are like, why didn't you fix it? And, it's kind of like a bigger deal, but a lot of the times here, I'm trying to like make a drink that has some type of significance historically. This one from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, the Singapore Sling we all sort of know. And I can't fix a drink in real time right now. I mean, it's like an absurd thing to think of just making another drink right now on the spot, and you're gonna like fix something that's been around for 110 years. It's just something that should take a little more time than just throwing some stuff together in a tin real quick. But I do have a new bottle that I want to try, which is a Black Forest cherry brandy that I got specifically to work into some type of Singapore Sling. So no timeline on that, but that'll be coming up in the future. And if you're watching this video in the future, I'll have a link to that video at the end of this video. So that's it for this one. Thank you to the Make and Drink Patreon community for supporting this channel. If you liked this video, please give it a like below. Consider subscribing to the channel. And otherwise, see you on the next one.